Hello one and all, we are now on the 7th day of the 6th drag race tournament, if you can believe it. And now for our first group we have Pyro, JC, Zizzer Prime, and Alfonso Speedicini. I love that name, by the way. And it looks like Alfonso has the lead, but here comes Zizzer looking to take the win from them, and they do. Finishing in first with a time of 3:07. Right now the fastest time is about a tenth of a second faster at 2.97, currently held by Big Six from day 5. There have been a few who've gotten close to breaking the 3-second mark, but only a select handful have been able to actually pull that off so far. So right now Zizzer Prime has the first win. If they can get 2 more, they are guaranteed to move on to the next round. And it looks like they might if they can keep this up, but they're not able to catch up to Alfonso, at least from the looks of things. It is awfully close, but the timer is giving it to Alfonso. So they will be getting that win. That could be about as close of a tie as you can possibly get. But they have just denied a sweep for Zizzer Prime. So far, out of all the videos we've had, the vast majority, if not all of the racers in any given video, have moved on with a sweep. But day 3 was a major exception to that. There goes Alfonso again, but it looks like they had a bit of a bumpy exit out of that ramp, allowing Zizzer Prime to catch up to them and grab the win. So now Zizzer Prime is sitting a little bit more comfortably because they know they have the edge in points. Alfonso can still make something happen here, but in order for that to happen, they do need to finish in first, or at least in front of Zizzer. If they end up with a tiebreaker, then whoever had the overall faster time will be the one to move on. So we'll see how this last race plays out. And so far it's Alfonso's favor, but there goes Zizzer Prime pulling away, grabbing the win, so they will be stopping Alfonso from moving on, and it'll be Zizzer progressing to the next round. A valiant effort by all. Pyro and JC put up a fight. Alfonso definitely did, but Zizzer managed to barely get the edge on all the other 3. A very close call for sure. So Zizzer Prime is moving on, and now we move on to group number 2 in today's video, and they will have Willie G, Grandpa, Mojav, High Rookie, and Lincoln Parker. And there they go. It looks like Grandpa had the edge, but now here's Willie G, but they're fighting back and forth. All of them are, really. So it was hard to tell who had that win until now. And I think that's High Rookie who got the win. But I'll double check the names just to be certain of that. But they all finished within a tenth of a second of each other. That is impressive. It was actually Lincoln Parker who got the win. My mistake. Also, High Rookie, if you want to tell me how to properly pronounce that first part of your name, that would be helpful. And now here comes Lincoln Parker again to grab the win. That is 2 consecutive ones. 1 more will give them the spot in the next round. But yes, again, High Rookie, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. But these racers are all very quick. All 4 of them are finishing within a very small window of time, which is not always the case even in drag races like these. So now 1 more for Lincoln Parker will seal the deal. Can they grab it? It looks like they might, and they will. They were neck and neck with Willie and Rookie for a second there, but it looks like they managed to pull it off, and they did, which means they will be the one to move on to the next round. That is one of the closer group of racers that I've seen in terms of how all 4 finish. But now Lincoln Parker is just looking to get the sweep. Somebody might be able to stop them though, because it has been awfully close. And as the race begins, they are neck and neck with a couple of the other racers, but they do pull away by about a length and a half. And they grab a sweep, the next one added to the extending list of racers who have done so this season. So 2 racers down. One of them comes out with a sweep. Let's see what happens in the second half, as it were. So congratulations to Lincoln Parker. And now for our third group. And our third group has Nitro, Chibi Moon, Shababy, and Misty G. Shababy especially is a familiar name in these races. However, it doesn't seem like they're going to be doing too well as they slowed down the closer they got to the finish line, and I think they ended up finishing in 4th. And that does seem to be the case. Hopefully, for their sake, that was just a fluke. But we'll have to see how these next 3 races play out. But so far, they are in 4th, but the winner of that race was Misty G. So let's see if Misty G can do it again, or if that was a fluke. Here comes race number 2. They are just behind Chibi Moon until they got to the bottom of the slope. I'm not sure who's winning that one. We'll have to check the timers, and it's giving it to Chibi. By not even a 1/10 of a second, even less than that. I honestly thought that would have been considered a tie, or at least the same time, and then the victor was determined by the blinking timer. But no, Misty G and Chibi Moon are now tied with 8 points apiece. So let's see if this plays out like the first group did, or something else will happen. Misty G has a bit of a better start this time around, but here comes Chibi Moon again. They might have actually stolen it from Misty G. And they did. It looked like Misty G had the lead for the vast majority of the race, even up until the finish line. But Chibi Moon managed to speed up just enough to surpass them right when they needed to. That can definitely throw your opponents off balance, and it is certainly working here. And now Chibi Moon is in a much better position. If they can finish in 1st yet again, they are moving on. Shababy tried to make something happen, but they slowed down again, and Chibi, more easily determinable, grabbed this win, and they will be the one progressing to the next round. It was definitely looking good for Misty G in that first race, but then Chibi Moon comes out of nowhere and speeds up, threw them off balance, and they managed to get 3 wins, sealing the deal. And now we have 1 group left. Let's see if any of them can get a sweep here. And that group has Bob, Mom, JC, and the King. And the race begins. It looks like the King is going to be living up to their name as they take off far away from everybody else, grabbing the first win without much of a problem. And they finish with 3 seconds flat. Meanwhile, Mom, it seems, is one of the few that has finished over 4 seconds, which is not the type of record you generally want, but it's still impressive in one respect or another. Here we go into race number 2. The King is looking very solid. Can they break 3 seconds and join the small group who have been able to do so far? That seemed like a very smooth run without bouncing off the walls too much. And they do finish with 2.98. That was a previous record, but it's not the current one. The current record is still 2.97, held by Big 6. But the King is definitely making it apparent that they have a chance to beat that record. Now Mom is looking very shaky, now finishing more than 5 seconds after the timer started. And now let's see how this third race goes. The King looking to grab a 3rd consecutive win, sealing the deal, and they will. But they definitely seemed a little bit, emphasis on a little bit more shaky, and they finished with a 3.01 this time around. So even though it wasn't under 3 seconds, it's still a very impressive time, showing them to be a formidable opponent. And they did get their 3rd win, guaranteeing their spot in the next round. Now it's just a matter of whether or not they can get a sweep, which seems very likely, but that doesn't mean the other 3 won't try to stop them. They go down the hill. The King already has a big lead, and it's getting even bigger as they head towards the finish line. Did they beat Big Six's time? They did not. They finished with 3 seconds again. And the timer seems to be not saying what the times of the other racers were. In fact, one of the first times I've ever seen this, we actually have a non-finish in a drag race. That is highly unusual, but it has happened here. And get a good look at it, because it may not ever happen again, but we will see in the future. For now, the King gets a sweep, adding one more racer to that list of sweepers. And here's the updated list on those who are advancing. Thank you all so much for watching. See you next time.